Good evening and welcome in to PowerMizzou live from the NCAA tournament in lovely and freezing and absolutely miserable Wichita, Kansas. Gabe DeArmond here, Drew King on the other side of your screen. And like Drew, ever since I knew Missouri was going back to the NCAA tournament, I just have been thinking about, for those of you who have been with us for a long time, like how can we get somebody to come in and microwave their dinner in the background of our live show? And because you were in the room and the Hilton Garden Inn has been kind enough to let me use a conference room downstairs, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, Gabe, what happened last time was my sugar mama walked in behind me in Sacramento. Right. So that's what you got to do is get yourself a sugar mama.
Now my wife does not watch these shows, but I'm gonna err on the side of caution and just not even address that comment and move along. Appreciate all you guys that are here live with us. I'm sure we'll get more people trickling in throughout the evening. We'll stick with you somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes here tonight. We had media day today, a chance to watch, shoot around. I'm not going to call it practice because it really wasn't practice at Intrust Bank Arena. While you're here, like, comment, subscribe. Any questions you've got, put them in the chat. If you are so inclined to contribute to the fund for Drew to restock the minibar and visit a local Wichita establishment, hey, that's fantastic, and we appreciate that, but certainly would never ask for it. I just said establishment. I didn't say what kind of establishment. That maybe you're just going back to the lovely brewery we had dinner at last night.
Yes, so we did.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll get to all your questions, I promise, throughout this show. We got a few things we're going to hit on. Like I said, it was media day today. Missouri and Drake both met with reporters. Obviously, so did everybody else, but we don't care about any of those teams right now. I asked Drew was down in the locker room. The best thing about the NCAA tournament is they have open locker rooms. So Drew was down talking, and I'll let him talk about what he might have gotten down there. But want to start here. I was at the press conference with Caleb Grill, Tamar Bates, Dennis Gates, and Mark Mitchell. And I asked Mark Mitchell, "Are you 100%?" And he kind of smiled, and he said, "I'll be ready to go tomorrow." Now, somebody on Twitter did notice, because this was my thought as well. He did not actually answer that question.
Right.
He will play. I think he will be fine. He didn't, but I intentionally asked the question the way I did, and he quite clearly did not answer it and knew he wasn't exactly answering it.
Right. And it would be the easiest thing in the world to just say, yes, I'm at 100%. So it is a little concerning that he didn't.
I would say that. Interesting more than concerning, but interesting. Yeah. Like I watched him he looked fine to me in the shoot around. Like I didn't look at him and say he doesn't look healthy.
Yeah, I thought he was moving around well before the Florida game, and I saw that and thought he might actually have a chance to play, even though he just sat out against Mississippi State. And so, I don't think that there's any real risk here. But like you said, it's just kind of interesting that he didn't say, yeah, I'm 100%. I'm ready to go.
Right. And like Jason says, is it concerning or just gamesmanship?
That's
probably more gamesmanship, right? Like we are not allowed to videotape press conferences here. And I attempted to download the video from the NCAA site. It is so big and so long and has a big logo over it, so I couldn't do it. Like, I would have to. So I asked Mark. It was the first question, and I asked him a two-part question. By the way, there were legitimately two people in the press conference who asked questions. I was one of them, because everybody else was in the locker room or was of the type that just sits there and waits for the rest of us to ask questions. So, but like the look on Mark's face, like I said, okay, two-part question. Part one, are you healthy or are you 100%? And part two, and right about that point, he just laughed and kind of smiled, so he knew it was coming. But like, look, I think ultimately it's a good sign that Dennis Gates sent him as one of the three guys to the press conference. I mean, he's playing. and I would expect if he's playing, they think he can play well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, kind of like Jason said, probably more gamesmanship than anything. But yeah, that's what I like about the NCAA tournament, though, is like that's an important thing to know if Mark Mitchell is 100%.
Right. Or at least to ask. We don't know
Right.
it, but we
Right.
at least can ask.
Yeah.
Aiden says if he retweaks the knee pain, do you sit him out there? No.
No.
Like, guys, they are not playing Alabama A&M. Like, they are playing a team that can beat them. You guys know by now, Drew and I do not expect Drake to beat them, but Drake can beat them. You, like, unless Mark comes to you and says, I can't play, you play him.
Yeah.
You know, and
like,
and
this is the season that's on the line, right? So, like, if you make that decision and you're wrong, like, you don't get to make it up. So, yeah, like, with that being the case and the stakes being as high as they are, I think you have to play Mark Mitchell unless he gives you a specific reason that he can't go. Like, it's more severe than we thought.
And I don't see Mark doing that.
Yeah, I don't.
Good. We've got breaking news in the chat. Shane, I don't know who Shane is. He just texted Mark. He said he's actually 110%. Expect 50 tomorrow. So that's
good journalism.
Excellent news.
Good reportage out of Shane.
Maybe that's why Mark laughed, because he's like, no, I'm not 100%. I'm more than 100%.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's why he couldn't say yes. I'm 100%. Right, like
right. So that was the first newsy bit. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So just my last point about this, like the stakes being high and this, like having the season on the line, it made me. I've been having this thought recently, and you're welcome to disagree with me, but I don't normally feel like individual games define a season, but I've kind of been feeling like this one might for Missouri. Agree or disagree?
I mean, it will be, if they lose tomorrow night, you've gone from number 14 to not one of the 32 best. It will be very disappointing. That does not make the season bad. You know, like overall, this season is a success to me, regardless of what happens tomorrow. But like, yeah, they need to win tomorrow. I think absolutely they need to. And then at that, like, you know, the Texas Tech game, we're assuming that's what it would be. You know, whatever, you go take your shot. But yeah, the season feels a whole lot different if they don't win tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Just because, like, in that case, all of the noise that you made this year came in games that didn't necessarily matter all that much, right?
Yeah. Well, and Kyle says Florida on the road defined the season, in my opinion. Here is. Okay, I'll ask you first. As of today, we have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about this season, what's the game you'll think about?
Right now, it's Kansas.
Is it?
Yeah.
For me, it's Alabama. That was as much fun as I've had covering a basketball game in minimum 10 years, maybe ever. Or, well, I'm not going to say that. 2012 MUKU was like next level. So, but since 2012, that's as much fun as I've had at a basketball game. Kansas is in the conversation. Florida's in the conversation. But look, this is what college basketball is. I'm sorry. The next 2 weeks do define your season. Like, they don't change everything, but like they're chapter one. They're the first paragraph of what we talk about when this is over.
Yeah. And like, I would feel different if this was like an 8 versus a 9 seed, or even like a 7 versus a 10. But like, this is 6 and 11. You're going against a mid-major. Like, this is a game that Mizzou should win. Yeah. And so if it doesn't, like, it kind of shifts the way I think I would view the season as a whole.
I mean, Tucker says if Missouri loses tomorrow, that nullifies the season. And I won't go that far. It doesn't.
Yeah.
This season matters. You made the tournament. That is always goal one at Missouri, at most places in the in a high major conference, but definitely at Missouri. Goal one in June or August or November 1st or whatever is get in the tournament. They did that. So it is better. Like, look, I looked this up the other day. Missouri has finished the regular season in the top 25 exactly 2 times in the last 13 years. It was this year and Dennis Gates' first year. So it doesn't nullify. Like, we have to quit holding Missouri coaches, or at least Dennis Gates, to the standard of 1991 Norm Stewart, because as much as we all remember that, this program hasn't been that for a long time. Yeah. This program has sucked for most of the last 11 years. And so getting here is good. If he wins on Thursday, Dennis Gates, I mean, he's already won more tournament games than Conzo Martin did. He's already won more tournament games than Frank Haith did. Like, he is but he needs to win. Like, I think tomorrow night's important.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Mike says 6-32 with a natty is better than 32-1 with a first round loss. First of all, I actually disagree with that. Second of all, if you were 0-32, you cannot qualify for the NCAA tournament. Like, by definition, you have to win at least 3 or 4 games before the tournament. So, like, the minimum number of games that a national champion can win is either 9 or 10.
Yeah, Mike confused me with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I got what he was saying. I completely disagree. All right, let's hit on a couple of other, not necessarily newsy things, but kind of newsy. So Jacob Cruz told some people in the Mizzou locker room he is coming back next year. I think we fully expected that for a while, but because I had asked Dennis Gates about it about 3 weeks ago, and he basically kind of said,
"Well, wait,
look, we've had those conversations. I'm going to let that come out when Jacob wants it to come out." Today, he was obviously fine with it coming out. I'm not the Missouri basketball head coach or GM, so whether I think I would bring him back or not is really immaterial. It's obvious Dennis Gates wants him back. He's back. That is, by definition, good news.
Yeah, and it kind of brings up a point that I made a few weeks ago, which was that I don't think there's anyone on the roster who, if they want to come back, Dennis Gates and the staff would say no to. Right. Just because, like, I think we've seen this season how important continuity can be in a program, right? Because Caleb Grill, Tamar Bates, Anthony Robinson, Trent Pierce, they all took a jump in year 2 in the program. So, like, maybe Jacob Cruz can too. And I know, like, he's not everybody's favorite player, but there's room for him to grow.
That's one way to. That's one way.
That's one way to put it. No, but and so, like, I learned this when I was at Texas State. Is like, you don't necessarily have to chase after, like, starters at every single spot on the roster. Like, sometimes you just want a guy who can hold the rope. That's how they explained it to me, right? You just need a guy who isn't going to give up any slack. And I think Jacob Cruz can be that guy, right? Like, he very clearly kind of knows what his role is and how they want to use him. And so I think that next year you could see him be a lot more comfortable with that. And it doesn't mean, like, you can't try to recruit over him. It doesn't mean that, like, they're begging on him to be, like, an elite level player or to even take a big jump like Caleb Grill or Tamar Bates did. But I think he can still be an impactful guy moving forward for him. And so it made sense to me to bring him back.
Yeah, no, I completely understand, why they brought it back. And again, he's here. If he's already here and he wants to come back, I don't think it's necessarily a great way to go about business to say no, right? Like, he is part of a 22-win NCAA tournament team. Cool. You want to come back? Yeah, we'll make it work. Good deal.
And like, he has been, like, pretty helpful in a lot of games.
He's had some moments this year. No question.
So
no question.
And it's not a guarantee you would get that by replacing him with somebody else. So yeah, I think it's understandable to bring him back for sure.
The third point I kind of wanted to hit on from media day today, and I'm just going to read it. There had been a lot of Tamar Bates talk before last week, and then I thought he played very well in the SEC tournament. He didn't make as many shots in the Florida game as he did the Mississippi State game, but I loved the approach, the mindset. He was attacking that entire game, and so I asked him, was there a different mindset? And I said, do you feel like you played any more aggressively or any differently than you have all season long? Because I thought watching him, he did. And he said, I wouldn't say it was necessarily a different mindset. I was able to be a lot more aggressive just from listening to what the coaches and the team need me to do as a leader and as somebody that plays a good amount of minutes. But going into it, I just wanted to get some good momentum for myself and for the team going into this tournament. Some shots were able to fall. But I definitely was a little more aggressive. In terms of my specific mentality, nothing changed. It was just about trying to win the basketball game. But that's the Tamar Bates Missouri needs in this turn. Tamar Bates could carve Drake up tomorrow night if he plays the way he played in the SEC tournament.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that sounds similar to what Tony Perkins told me at the SEC tournament, where he's like, this is my last chance. This is my last go around. I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that we win. And if that means I have to be a little bit more aggressive, then I'm going to do it. And so it sounds like Tamar is taking on a pretty similar mentality. And we know that he's capable of that is the thing. We've never had a night where we said Tamar Bates needs to shoot less. Right. So,
you're right.
I think Tamar Bates being aggressive, shooting more, definitely a positive for Mizzou going into the tournament.
Yeah. I don't know. I completely lost my train of thought and what I was going to say. So I'm just going to go with yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. All right. So I think that Missouri, let's go to the other side for a minute. What'd you think of Ben McCollum, Drake? Anything kind of stand out to you about their appearance, what they said, anything like that?
What can we talk about?
Not their appearance. Their media appearance.
They're ugly, Gabe. They're ugly.
Not the way they looked. Yes.
No. Okay. So one of the more interesting comments that I thought Ben McCollum made was he got asked about, how they're kind of a more patient offense, that they're the slowest tempo in the country, and how important kind of dictating the pace would be in this one. And he said that it's not that they are trying to play slow, it's that the defenses they've gone up against are athletic enough to slow them down or limit the shots and make them take a while. And I thought, okay, if that's happening in the MVC, how would they
You're
fare?
in big trouble tomorrow. So let's read all. Here are the teams that Drake has played this year. I'm going to read all of them off. Stop me when I get to someone who is as athletic as Missouri. York NE. I literally have no idea what that is.
I think it's Nebraska.
Okay. Stephen F. Austin. Florida Gulf Coast. Not Florida Gulf Coast of Andy Enfield 10 years ago. Florida Gulf Coast today. Miami of Florida. Florida Atlantic. Vanderbilt. Georgia Southern. Valpo. St. Ambrose. Kansas State. Green Bay, Belmont, Illinois, Chicago, Murray State, Bradley, Evansville, Illinois State, Indiana State, Valpo, Missouri State, Northern Iowa, Southern Illinois, Murray State, Indiana State, Illinois State. You get the damn idea. You haven't stopped me yet. That's just, and look,
I'm still waiting.
That's just a lie from Ben McCollum. I have no issue with it, but that's just a lie. It's not great. You didn't play great defenses. This is how you play.
So maybe what he meant was we're not trying to play slow, but they're definitely not trying to play fast either. Like that's kind of the thing.
And they are trying to play slow. Like you can't watch them and come to any other conclusion.
Right. So yeah, kind of a weird answer from McCollum there. But other than that, like I didn't think there was anything too crazy. Like obviously he's got Northwest ties. Kyle Smith-Peters coached one of his assistants at John A. Logan back in the day, so they're pretty familiar with each other. But yeah, like I think that we didn't uncover a whole lot of new stuff at the Drake press conference.
No, I'll say this, man. I liked Ben McCollum. I expected him to be super boring, and he was actually kind of entertaining. Made a couple jokes. Like I thought it was a good press conference. He seemed like a guy that would be fun to cover. Bennett Sturts was pretty good, I thought. So didn't learn a ton about him. I will say, I bumped into someone who is volunteering at the tournament and happened to just be sitting in the hotel bar and had a drink with them this afternoon. And they said, I saw Drake walk by and I just kept waiting for the tall guys. Like I kept wondering, when are the big guys going to come? And they just never did. Right. And that's, I mean, three of their top 4 and 4 of their top 7 scores were playing at Northwest Missouri State last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, this is not a team Missouri has any business losing to.
Correct. Yeah.
Let's look at it. Drake was an 11 seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
What that means is they are viewed on a level with Texas, North Carolina, Xavier, San Diego. These are legitimately the last teams in the field. Everyone seated below them had an automatic bid. There was no one selected on their own merit that is seated below Drake. Again, that none of that means Drake can't win. But let's put this in person. This is not the Harlem Globetrotters.
Correct. I wish the Harlem Globetrotters would make the NCAA tournament.
What if they played in the tournament? That would be cool.
Forget the play-in. You instead of the play-in, you just get the Harlem Globetrotters. Gabe, if Drake played North Carolina or Texas, are you taking them to win in either of those games?
No. 100% not.
Yeah.
I mean, the best team Drake beat this year was Vanderbilt. And, somebody did ask McCollum, what can you take from that Vanderbilt game? And he said, I'm not sure we can take much from it. It was so long ago. It was like their 6th game of the year. And I don't think at that time Vandy was what Vandy ended up being, So, and Drake, I think was there is something to the fact that he has 4 guys that played for him last year at Northwest Missouri State, right? This was not a brand new roster. This was a lot of guys who know what he wants to do and are able to go out and do it. And so I think it wasn't the typical, hey, this is the first year for a new coach roster.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like I said earlier, continuity is really important. So those guys obviously already know how to play with each other. And the transfers he got, Cam, right? He's been a pretty important player, but I do think there is a ceiling to that. And specifically when you're not getting the same kind of talent that a team like Missouri is. You can go 30-3 in the MVC, but I don't know that guarantees you success against some of the high major teams.
No question. I appreciate MIZ SEC. He's contributing to a potato chip fund for Drew, so I know that is appreciated. I know that is appreciated.
That is my favorite fund, no lie. So thank you to MIZ SEC.
But you're just like a plain potato chip guy, right? Not the flavored potato chips.
Well, so I'm good with Lay's sour cream and onion. That's about as brave as I'll get with the flavors.
You gotta do some salt and vinegar potato chips, man.
Oh, I don't know about the vinegar.
They're the best, man. They're the
But
best potato.
I am
chip
a
there is, but
potato chip fiend. Like
you're an aficionado.
that's all of my paycheck goes towards potato chips. Like forget a house.
That's by far the worst thing you've ever said on the show.
Forget a house.
No,
forget a car note. I just want some potato chips.
Yeah, but do appreciate the super chat from Mizzou SEC and that's great. So let's do this real quick. Let's take a little detour. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to do potato chip rankings.
Wow.
Daniel Martinez likes the flaming hot Cheetos. Sam likes the honey barbecue chips. Jimmy Janes likes the Luther Burden chips. So I'm going to give you like a minute and a half to educate the folks on potato chips. You just have your way. I'll be back.
Okay, so at the top of the pyramid, we gotta go, I think, with Lay's or wavy Lay's, like regular potato chips, right? And something about the way that this is so stupid. Something about the way that the ridges in the chip, I think, does a really good job of catching the oil differently than maybe a regular potato chip was. So that's my number one. Number two is probably sour cream and onion. And I it's weird because I don't even like sour cream and onions on a baked potato, but I'm good with the potato chips. But those are goated. Number three, I'll probably go with some Ruffles. Kind of similar to the wavy Lays, but obviously the ridges are a little shallower, a little more together there. Then we've got, let's go with Pringles. I think that maybe a little overrated, but I'm a Pringles fiend. We got regular. We can do this for the rest of the show if we want.
So I felt like I was listening to Paul Hollywood on the Great British Baking Show there when you were breaking down the way the ridges catch the oil. Like you may have, I don't know, there may be something, you might have another career, buddy.
No, I mean,
I'm just saying.
Imagine tuning into the show for the first time and that's what's on the screen.
We're getting a lot of viewers, certainly. Actually, Mizzou SEC he might take that super chat back right now, to be quite honest with you. All right, no. So but okay, let's get down to the real stuff here. What I have seen this week is a lot of people who filled out a bracket on Sunday night or did the instant reaction. Drake's a huge upset pick. And the more and more they look at it, and when they actually look at the matchups and the rosters and this and that, they're going, hey, I didn't mean to say that. I think, Ken Pom has this as a 6-point win. Torvik has it as a 7-point win. The Vegas line has not moved to my knowledge. I mean, it started at 6.5. I think it's still 6.5, right around there, despite most of the money actually being on Drake. So what that tells you is the working class Joe's betting on Drake, and the people that do this for an income are betting on Missouri. So I think and Go Pack Go says Southeastern 16 did this exact thing. Chris Lee texted me yesterday and said I changed my pick to Missouri on that game. I think that's what's happening throughout the week. People are just going, oh no, I did that because I saw Drake was 30-3, and I've heard of Drake and McCollum's a good coach, and now they're going, yeah, but he just doesn't have the dudes in this game.
Yeah, and Mizzou's got some dudes. If Mark Mitchell plays to the level we've seen him at, he's going to be a real problem for Drake. If Caleb, shouts to Mizzou SEC again.
He's 100% right, dude. I mean, look, I'm not, everybody knows why I had to go take a break. Hey, this happens. You got to rehydrate during the day, and sometimes you don't make it through an hour-long show.
Anyway, Tamar Bates plays to the level he's capable of. Like, Drake's going to have a tough time with him. I think if Tony Perkins plays to the level we've seen him over the last 2 games, he's going to put a lot of pressure on the rim in that pack line defense. And then, like, if Caleb Grill can knock down 3 3-pointers, this game might be over. So, yeah, like, when we talk about dudes, Drake has maybe one and Bennett starts, and he's really good. But I think Mizzou's got a lot of them. I think that they're just so much deeper.
Well, and Bennett Sturts said today, the Missouri Valley, I think, is undervalued or underrated No, it 100% isn't. It's a bad league right now. Like, the Missouri Valley at times has been a really good league, but it just isn't right now. You've got Drake, who was good. You've got Bradley, who's 95th at KenPom. Northern Iowa was 101st. Belmont was 129th. Illinois State 141. Illinois Chicago 175. Murray State 140. I mean,
it sounds like the ACC.
It's worse than it's a less talented version of the ACC. It's a less athletic version. And I did think it was interesting that that McCollum said today, that they don't have a way to simulate Missouri's athleticism.
Yeah.
And he said even Vanderbilt was athletic, but I think Missouri's at another level. And so they not only have they not seen it this year, they don't have guys that they can put out there in practice to kind of duplicate what Tamar Bates is, what Caleb Grill is, what Mark Mitchell is, what really any of them are.
Yeah. Ben Sturts did say during his press conference that they've been blaring heavy metal music to try to simulate the crowd noise. Are you a heavy metal guy, Gabe?
No. No. I mean, I liked, back when I was like 10, Motley Crue and stuff like that was cool, but no, I'm not a heavy metal guy. And I don't think Motley Crue exactly qualifies as heavy metal, right? But that's as close as I'm ever going to get. But that was weird to me because, like, I don't know. It's not a home game. NCAA tournament games are frequently quieter than regular season games because there's not a consensus on who you're cheering for.
Yeah. I mean, I do think this is going to be bigger than usual just because of the location and who's playing in it. Like, I think there will be a pretty packed crowd for this one.
I think it will be pretty full, but 30% or Drake fans, 30% Missouri fans, it's not going to be it's not going to be 75% for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even like bragging rights where that's loud the whole time because half the arena is always cheering. Like, there's going to be some Texas Tech fans in the arena tomorrow. There's going to be some Houston fans in the arena. Well, maybe not. Maybe they only bought session 1 tickets, but point being, the crowd noise, I think it's less about the crowd noise and more about just the atmosphere and the pressure of, hey, this is different. Like, you're in the NCAA tournament. These kids were playing D2 ball a year ago, and now you're on national TV with the theme song playing and all that. Like, this is a different deal. And who knows, like, maybe the lights come on and that makes Bennett Sturts just even better. Like, maybe he scores 36 tomorrow. I'm not saying that's impossible. I'm not saying they're going to melt because of it, but it is a different atmosphere.
Yes, I agree. So I am also not a heavy metal fan, unfortunately.
You're not? Okay.
No, I'm not.
Okay. So I think all week we've been waiting to have our minds changed. And here we are 23 hours from tip-off, and I don't feel any differently about this game than I felt Monday morning.
No, I don't either. Just the more I just put out a story on 24/7 Sports, PowerMizzou.com, talking to the coaches and the players on hey, obviously pace of play is going to be an important factor in this one. like, what do you do? Like, how do you impose your will? And Rob Summers told me they ran a pack line defense at Miami of Ohio when he was there as an assistant, right? So he's got a pretty good idea of how to attack that offensively. Like I said earlier, Kyle Smith-Peters is pretty familiar with Ben McCollum's staff, and so he knows that they're not going to really change much up from what they do, and they've just got to be disruptive defensively to try to pick up the pace. So, and like even talking to Josh Gray, I was like, how do you speed them up? And he's saying, well, like they really like to run the high ball screen, right? And I feel like I've been pretty good at defending those this year. So it's going to be on me to bring pressure on Ben Sturtz when he comes around the screen. You can poke holes in that if you want, Gabe.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with all of that, but that's fine.
But like, so I think that they have seen teams like Drake before and kind of the styles that they run. So I don't think they're going to be a fish out of water in this game with it being an extra slow team.
So I asked Dennis Gates that question about how do you speed a team up, because I knew you were writing that story and you were in the locker room, and I asked him, and I'm sure you saw it because I'm sure you wanted to try to use it for your story. But like, I just want to read this answer to people. And Drew, you tell me at any point if you know what the answer is here. So I said, when you're the team that plays faster, what goes into trying to speed a team up? Dennis Gates, trying to speed a team up, what goes into it? I don't think anything primarily goes into it. I think both teams and both programs will continue to do what they have done throughout the course of a season and will continue to do that as well. I think at the end of the day, if their ball isn't going in and ours is going in, it can feel like things are being sped up a little bit. And that's kind of what we want to continue to do, defend and do the things necessary to allow us to sort of look at our 30 games or other 20 games in conference or 18 games in conference and make sure we're being consistent in what we've done. There's a body of work that both programs have come from, and they'll do their job. We'll do our job, and we both have to adjust in game, and the whistle is going to be important as well. I think those things line up, but making sure our players consistently do the things we've been doing. I don't even know. I don't know what he was talking about. Like, at no point was there ever anything that like attempted to answer the question I asked.
That's Dennis Gates 101.
It would like
to confuse the enemy, you must confuse yourself.
It was wild. Like, I was just, it was like those things you see on Instagram that are at no point in this answer did I ever have any idea what was coming next. You know, that's where I was. I'm just like, I don't even know what, like, it basically, the answer came down to, if we make shots and they don't make shots, that'll be good for us.
That's what it sounded
Which
like.
I agree with that analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree with that analysis.
That's why he's the head coach of Missouri.
We've had a lot of people asking, like, who's the guy that maybe we're not talking about that has a big game? Is there anyone that, and like, this is hard in basketball, right? There's only like 9 guys that are going to play. Yeah. I mean, but is there anybody that you think is kind of like an X factor? Like, hey, tomorrow night we could be sitting here going, oh, this guy was a way bigger part of this game than I expected.
Yeah, I think like the most obvious matchup that is going to be the X factor is Bennett Sturtz versus Ant Robinson and Tony Perkins. And it's going to be on Ant to stay out of foul trouble. And it's going to be on Tony to like step up if that does happen. And so I think that if those two guys can do a good job of limiting what Ben Sturtz does, I don't know that Drake has a whole lot of other guys they can turn to. Like Mitch Muscari, great shooter. I don't know that he's much of like a distributor or a shot creator by himself. And so like if you can contain Ben Sturtz and jump in the passing lanes and make it difficult for him to move the ball, like he's number 1 in the country in minute percentage. Like he doesn't come off the floor. So they just don't have another guy to go to. And even Ben McCollum said today, like they've got 9 guys available right now. So it's not a deep bench. And if Ant and Tony do their job, like I don't think Mizzou should have much of an issue in this one.
Chase nominates Ant for 10 steals. If Ant has 10 steals tomorrow, Missouri is going to win by 30 points.
Yeah.
I also Cody says Josh Gray will have 20 offensive rebounds.
I don't know about
that would be a record, right?
Yeah, that would be like that'd be because he misses 20 layups in a row and just gets it right back. Yeah,
right. 21st chance opportunities or 2 points for Missouri. Mitchell's asking if Drake is a good free throw shooting team. Not particularly. They're 70%, which is 2% worse than Missouri. And we've had discussions about whether we think Missouri is a good free throw shooting team or not. I think most people think no.
What I will say is, like Missouri, Drake does get to the free throw line pretty often. So volume-wise, they are a good free throw shooting team. But percentage-wise, not really.
Yeah. How small do they think they are? Keep underestimating them. I don't know what that means. Again, like neither of us has said that Drake cannot win this game, but it would be a significant upset if it happens. That's all we're saying.
Yeah. And I think that they're a team with the biggest guys 6'8". Like, and Mizzou has a lot of guys who are over 6'8". Like, so I think that's going to be a challenge for Drake.
Right. And it's not just, hey, this guy's 6'8", right? It's also, okay, Bennett Sturtz is 6'4". Isaiah Jackson, actually, their guards are decent-sized guys, like their entire roster is basically between 6'4" and 6'8". So their guards are decent-sized guys. It's just up front. And it's not just the height. It's like Josh Gray could shove dudes around on this team. Mm-hmm. Mark Mitchell can shove dudes around on this team. I'm not sure Trent Pierce can shove dudes around or Jacob Cruz because those guys are skinny, but like they just don't, they're not a big team.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So, all right. So, I don't know, man. I feel like we've hit this from every angle we can hit it. I know you guys are fired up and we could probably stay here for 2 hours. But I feel like we're kind of starting to go over the same material. I am excited that tomorrow we have basketball games. Like the tournament is here enough. Like I always get caught off guard every year. It seems like it's so long between Selection Sunday and Thursday morning at 11:30. And then all of a sudden it's Sunday night and you go, well, we have no more games for 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to tomorrow as well. Like you keep saying that, like this is the fun part. So
yes,
we're here in Wichita. I'm pretty hungry. I'm ready for dinner.
Yeah. And totally. Trav's asking what we're doing. We are getting dinner, guys. We went over to the arena at about noon today. We've been writing and doing stuff and doing this show since, so we are ready for dinner. We will have more tomorrow morning. We will be back. What time's the first game tomorrow? Do you even know? I don't. At the first game here. I mean,
yeah.
I know Houston.
I'm pulling it up now. Where is it?
I don't know. That's why I asked you. But anyway,
1 o'clock.
First game,
1 p.m.
Okay, first game at 1 o'clock. So we'll probably wander over, watch a little of the early stuff. I'm pretty interested in Georgia Gonzaga. Actually, I would like to be there for most of that game. I think Gonzaga will win, but I'd like to see Georgia win. That'd be a cool thing and good.
I do think it'll be
program.
Interesting matchup at least. Like I think Georgia has the best player in that game in Asa Newell, but
I learned today that he was originally committed to Gonzaga.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing the selection committee does.
Right, it's just coincidence, Drew. It just happens. That's how the seed line worked out. The former Northwest Missouri State coach just happens to be playing Missouri. Nothing there. So yeah, we'll be over there during the day, but like we'll be all over the boards. We'll be letting you guys know what's going on here in Wichita. I know a lot of you probably going to make the trip down tomorrow. Tip off 6:35. We will have a live show. NCAA tournament post game tends to take a little longer than normal, and then it's whether we can find a place in the arena to do a post game show or whether we're walking back over here to do it. I don't know, but we will have a post game show tomorrow night. And we'll make sure to get things to you. We probably can't do it in the middle of the media room because there are people that are actually trying to do grown up work as opposed to play grab ass on a YouTube.
But we can do it in the media room.
We would be unpopular if we did that. They'd be like, why are you talking about the oil differential in potato chips? What the hell are you doing? I'm trying to do a job, please.
I'll bring a graph next time to show. Like,
anyway, point being, we will have a post game show tomorrow night. If Missouri wins, we will also, do a little write up on what we are assuming Texas Tech, but who knows? Maybe UNC Wilmington pulls the shocker, right? And so we'll be at that. So stuff all day tomorrow. Like Drew said, this is the fun part. Glad you guys are all here along for the ride. Appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. Like, comment, share, subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, leave us a nice review. We will see you all on game day.